Hey guys, coming at you today with a recipe for my birthday cake. I've been wanting to figure this out for a while, so I finally got to testing on it. I'm gonna make a delicious keto Reese's Cup inspired cheesecake. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef. I've been a chef most of my life and I opened up a keto bakery in 2022. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto, low carb, healthy recipes possible. So if you enjoy these types of recipes, please consider hitting the subscribe button down there. Half of you aren't subscribed, so hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos come up. Leave me comments and share with all your friends and family. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new recipes every week. Today, a Reese's Cup cheesecake. Now, of course, I couldn't make it exactly how I wanted it. Like, I'm not a huge cheesecake person, but if I were to eat a cheesecake, it'd be Cheesecake Factory cheesecake. But unfortunately on keto, and especially peanut butter and chocolate, they all have carbs in them. Same thing with cream cheese and all that stuff. So it is difficult to get kind of a Cheesecake Factory knockoff made keto because it's just so decadent and layered with so many things. So we're gonna make my version keto today. I had to make some swaps. Obviously we're not gonna do, they do like cake, cheesecake, and then ganache on top. We're not gonna make cake today, that's just too much. And it would just add too many carbs. But there isn't even like a graham cracker crust on their Reese's Cup cheesecake. So the first test I did, I made my graham crackers, but I added a little bit of cocoa powder. My graham crackers are just pretty high in carbs, so I just suggest using any crispy keto cookie. There's a bunch on the market. You can crush up some high-key Oreos or some Dunkies from Chalk Zero, and you just add some butter to them to get the crumbs to stick together, and you can make a crust out of it. I happen to have my Nilla wafer cookies from a couple of months ago. If you have crispy cookies, they'll last for a very long time on your countertop. So I measured out a quarter of the recipe. You can do whatever you want for the crust. You want to preheat your oven to 350 to brown the crust up a tiny bit before we put the cheesecake filling in, which I've had it on already because it is only like 15 degrees outside, so it's really cold in here. But I'm gonna get these crushed up, add a little bit of butter, pat them in a 9-inch springform pan and get that baking in the oven. You can't use a food processor for this. I'm just gonna use a rolling pin in a bag. And take out my frustrations. Never have enough room. Pretty good. Nice and finely ground. This brings the carb count down a lot because this cookie recipe is 1 carb for 5 cookies. So the whole crust is only gonna be like 2 carbs. My graham cracker crust, if you use the whole batch, is 12 grams of net carbs. So I have, I believe this is a 9-inch round. I just kind of cleaned it up from the last cheesecake I made. I am gonna parchment the bottom just to be safe. Usually when you have a really buttery crust, it's not that big of a problem. Better safe than sorry. It's good. Give it a little spray so it'll stick. Now, I made dozens of cheesecakes at my first ever pastry job. We'd make like 4 different flavors a week, and we would just take crumbs, pour them in the pan, add some butter, like we never measured, add some butter and patted it down. So this isn't like a super exact measurement that you need. Cheesecake is very forgiving. It's one of my recipes that's very easy to switch it up and add what you want and do different things to it. The hardest part really is knowing when to pull it out of the oven. I am gonna measure for you, of course, though, because I want you to have a measurement. I'm gonna melt 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm not sure how much I'll need for it though. So 4 tablespoons is 56 grams. Get in there, or about 1/4 cup. So I think this is 1/3 of a cup. Close enough. I don't suggest using, like, you can use my graham cracker crust without making the graham crackers first. You can just make the batter and bake it right into here. But stuff like cookies, they spread out. My shortbread, I tried doing that as a crust and it shrank. So you want to make the cookies first and then crumble them and add more butter and put them in the pan. Okay, I'm only going to add a little bit at a time. A lot of times recipes call for more sweetener too when you're making like a graham cracker crust, so you can add more sweetener. You see it's not sticking together yet. I always just mixed with my hand. It's so much easier. I kind of feel where the butter is. That'll pack down. So just about 4 tablespoons. But different cookies might absorb different amounts of butter and such. So we just always had big bags. I think we had 50-pound bags of chocolate and vanilla cookie crumbs. I think there was like Keebler sold it, restaurant sized. Kind of spread it out evenly first. Once you pat it down, you don't really want to move it too much. Pat it down. Obviously, if you want to bake my chocolate cake for the crust, go right ahead. You can bake it in 2 9-inch rounds and put one on top, one on bottom. If you want to do that, feel free. Maybe one of these days. If you want to see something crazy like that keto, let me know in the comments below. It is going to be pretty high in carbs, but it will be delicious. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this channel, was like just make ridiculous, you know, keto gluten-free stuff, but like it's so hard to make stuff so low carb. Stuff was sticking to my hand because there's stuff already on my hand, so it's like easier to do it with the hand that's not all covered in stuff. Okay, I'm gonna throw this in the oven 5 to 10 minutes. You just want it getting golden brown around the edges. I am gonna put it on a half sheet tray just in case any butter leaks out. You don't want that burning in your oven. Set the timer for 5 minutes. I'll turn it halfway through, give it a check, set it for maybe another 5. I'm gonna clean up here and we'll get on to making the filling. Okay, so for the filling, I already have 2 blocks of Philadelphia cream cheese pulled out. I've had them on my stove while my oven's preheating and on since it's so cold in here. I had 2 eggs out and I have 8 ounces of sour cream that I weighed out already. The last ingredients we need to weigh out is the peanut butter and the sweetener. I like the Wellesley. I keep saying Wesley, it's Wellesley Farms brand organic peanut butter. This is the best I found. When I found it, I was like, oh my God, that is so delicious tasting. And it is BJ's brand, but you can use any peanut butter you want. I know there's also the powdered peanut butters, which have usually less fat and stuff to them. So if you want to use something like that, it should work perfectly fine in this recipe. I don't even think you have to rehydrate it at all because you're adding it to liquid. So feel free to use whatever kind of peanut butter you want. This one is only 2 net carbs for 2 tablespoons, which is 32 grams. And we're going to use 4 servings, so 128 grams. I've been on a peanut butter kick lately. There we go. Can't get 128 apparently. Whatever. That's fine. And then for the sweetener, the test I did 96 grams because I go off of old recipes in order to figure out the sweetness level, because right now I prefer things sweeter. My taste buds still haven't recovered, and this is for my birthday. So I'm going to use 3/4 cup of sweetener. This kind of recipe is one you can literally use as much or as little sweetener as you want and nothing's going to happen to the recipe. You can also add a little bit of stevia instead of the erythritol if you want. I don't think it would mess up the recipe at all with not using like a bulk sweetener. You're gonna get a smaller cheesecake because, you know, a 1/2 cup is a little bit more volume than, you know, just a teaspoon of stevia or something. It should work out just fine. I use, even though it says monk fruit in big letters, it's erythritol with monk fruit, and I use, this is Duralife. I just put up an Amazon products video of all the sweeteners and flours and stuff I buy on Amazon that are the cheapest or just the best, or I like the best. So I'll link that up there for you. So that was 10 minutes. Perfectly golden brown. I hope it's helpful to people. It's a lot of what I've learned in the last 4 years of baking keto, but also being a keto bakery business owner, I have some insight on things and stuff like that. Because when you type in Mumford erythritol blend, the first thing that comes up always is Locanto. I had to search for like different brands that were cheaper. Okay, so that's everything we need for our cheesecake. I'm keeping the oven at 350, just so you know. Now, how I mix cheesecakes. I actually forgot about this, and because my first pastry job was when I was 20, I think. Well, technically my first one was when I was 19. I was on the cruise ship, but we made all our cheesecakes in a food processor, and it was really quick and easy. And this recipe is similar to that recipe that I made all those years ago. So it was something I made so often that I just remembered the measurements. I definitely cut the sweetener down in it from when I was at the bakery, obviously, but the cream cheese, sour cream, and egg kind of combo is the same. And we always put it in the food processor. It got it super well whipped up and not grainy at all, and it worked really well for keto especially, because the more you mix our sweetener up, the less grainy it is and the less crystallized it'll get. Because if you don't whip up our sweetener, it could sometimes like make a white cast on your cheesecakes or pies, because when you cook erythritol, it recrystallizes when it cools. I always get Philadelphia cream cheese because it is the lowest carb. It is still 1 carb per 1 ounce. This one, it says less than 1 carb. So it's about probably 7 carbs for 8 ounces. Same as heavy cream. Really soft cream cheese. That just really helps in the long run. In this particular recipe, it will be fine because you'll eventually get it nice and smooth and whipped up with using a food processor. Definitely makes it quicker. Okay, add that and our sweetener in and just whip it and scrape down a couple of times to get it all nice and whipped up. Make sure you get down to the bottom because the blade doesn't always get all the way down there, and you got a lot of sweetener down there, at least in my food processor. I actually did set up my Ketoupgrade Amazon shop page, so that'll be linked below. I didn't put this on there. This model was out of stock, I think, anyways, but I like my Hamilton Beach one that's up in the kitchen better. So, and it's way more affordable. So that is on there. But everything, even like these spatulas, I love these spatulas, and it's what we use in the restaurant business. So a lot of the products I have on there is stuff I've used for years. Once it's all nice and whipped up and you don't see any granules in there, you can add your sour cream and butter. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract to this. I was trying to think if I had an extract that would complement this. If you wanted to do like a Snickers or something, you add some caramel extract or some of my caramel sauce on top. The Cheesecake Factory cheesecake, the Reese's cup, I looked up a copycat recipe, and there is like dulce de leche in between the layers. I haven't made it yet, but I bet my sweetened condensed milk can be taken super far and really get caramely and thick like dulce de leche. I just haven't done it yet. I think we're good here. It's gonna continue to get whipped up too with everything else in it. Add in 8 ounces or 1 cup of sour cream. And our peanut butter. Let's give it a scrape and add our 2 eggs. Or scrape, make sure you got everything off the bottom. That's where I find the most stick. So you got like chunk underneath the blade. I just cleaned up any crumbs that were like up top there. You don't want those on the edge of your cheesecake. Super creamy, all harmonious. I like to just take this right out. Pour it all right in. Now, if I didn't care about carb count on this, I would add chopped up Reese's cups into the batter. If you don't want things to sink in your keto baked goods, you gotta add some xanthan gum to them in order to keep stuff from sinking all the way to the bottom. So I would probably make this batter a little bit thicker and then fold in a keto Reese's cup, which I am gonna use some in this, but I'm gonna use it to decorate the top so it looks real nice. Shake it out. Do a little tap, we got some bubbles. So the first time I did this, I overbaked it. So I'll do 12, turn 12, and I'll check on it and see what I think. Then we're gonna turn the oven off and just crack the door for an hour, and hopefully it won't crack. And then it's a cool at room temperature for a couple hours, and then in the fridge for a couple hours. So I'll show you when I spin it and when I turn the oven off, and then we'll be back in a couple of hours. Luckily, just a couple seconds for you. It's been 24 minutes. Let's see. It is set around the edges. I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes. Okay, another 2 minutes. I don't want to overbake it, so it is going to continue to cook. So I'm going to keep it like this, cracked open, and turn off the oven. I'm going to set my timer for 1 hour. Okay, it's been an hour, and that's what our cheesecake looks like. I'm going to set it on my stovetop because the air over here is a lot cooler than over by my stove. So I'm going to leave it over on the stovetop for like 30 minutes to an hour and then move it to the back here, not to shock it too much. And then once it's completely room temperature, I'm going to throw it into the refrigerator. Okay, let's get on to getting our cheesecake out of the mold. It's been in the fridge for about 2 hours. It's about 60 degrees. I have some hot water here. I'm going to run around the edge. I'm going to start up top and then I'll go down further. The clip is like the hardest part. Okay. Ugh. Messing it up. Ugh. Not loosened. Gotta get all the way down. We are gonna top the top and sides, so I'm doing it a little premature so I can get this video done before my boy gets home. Why is this side giving me so problems? I believe this is just my birthday cake. What is going on here? Okay, I get it now? Jeez. Clean it up, clean off the edges. Got a little bit of a hole there. I'm gonna throw this back into the fridge because I don't want this to break when I pull it off of here. I actually might throw it into the freezer till we get the ganache and everything made for it. We got a couple things we can prep up for the cheesecake. Before we do the ganache, I'm gonna do the Reese's cups that we're putting on top, the fake Reese's cups. So I have a box of the Chalk Zero milk chocolate peanut butter cups. So I figured out the macros with these and some peanut butter buttercream on top and ganache, and it was 4 carbs per 1/12 of the cheesecake. The reason I did 12 is because I want to put a half of a cup on each one, and I want 2 cups to kind of sprinkle in the middle of the cheesecake. The decorating, completely up to you. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to put in your macros. You can just do some stabilized whipped cream on top if you want. These two, I'm just going to do real small pieces so that it doesn't hinder the slicing too much. So these cups are a carb each. I am going to make a peanut butter buttercream. I'm not going to show you or explain it really that much. I'm going to link up there my buttercream frosting recipe. I'm going to do that recipe and just add a couple tablespoons of peanut butter to the recipe. So nothing special there. And then I'm going to make 4 ounces of ganache. So 4 ounces of chocolate chips, 4 ounces of heavy cream. I'll link up my ganache video. Depending on what chips you use, you may need to use different amounts of cream. Usually it's 4 ounces by weight, not by like cup measurement, but some chips are different than others. And you want to make it and let it sit for a while to get kind of thick so that you can like spread it on the cheesecake. Okay, I did have to add a little bit more powdered sweetener because I did a whole ounce extra of butter. It was peanut butter, but with making such a small amount of buttercream, you need a little bit more thickness to the frosting with the powdered sweetener because peanut butter is liquidy. So I did add a little bit more of that. I'm gonna get my cream heated and I'm gonna get the cheesecake onto a platter. Hopefully that little bit of time in there helped solidify this a little bit more, maybe, or maybe not. Good to go. Get a bigger spatula out here. Okay. You might see a fail right here on video. You're all yelling at me to stop. Yeah, I did it without breaking the whole thing. Now you're probably all just like, why are you doing it? Why can't you just do it some other day? Well, I'm shooting 3 videos today. It's my one day, and then shoot again until next week, Thursday. So I still gotta finish this week's video during Van's nap tomorrow. I got a schedule, I gotta keep it. Can I put this back on? Go here, down here. Piece it back together. I do gotta whip up my buttercream a little bit more, but once you whip the air into it, it starts to deflate, like if you go to re-whip it. So I'm gonna wait to whip it until the very last second. This has to harden on there a little bit. You got your cream hot enough, it should all melt. If not, 50% power in your microwave just to give it a little bit of warmth and to melt the rest of the chips. I think we're gonna need a little bit of a blast here. So do 10 seconds. There you go. Should get nice and thick. This is the consistency you want. So if you're using different chips, you'll know pretty thick, almost like hot fudge like. You can put some in the middle and then we can let it cool and then we can frost as it sets up a little bit. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna whip up the buttercream a little bit. While this is still wet, I'm gonna put in all these chopped up Reese's cups. Keep an eye on this. See, it's starting to get thicker. I'm gonna get my buttercream into a piping bag. I took a guess on how much buttercream we would need. I just did 1/4 of a batch. I tasted it for sweetness. Just put this tip on there. See, it's getting thick there. Because the cake is kind of cold too, it'll set up as you put it on there. Sorry, you can't see this, really. I need 3rd camera angle. I'm just putting a little bit on and smoothing it out, that's all. We're gonna put the frosting around the top, and it doesn't really matter that much. Get it nice and smooth. Oh, I forgot I was gonna add stevia to this. Ugh. I like my things sweeter. Hopefully it'll be fine with the added buttercream and all that. I just use semi-sweet chocolate chips, not milk. We're back to the beginning and it's like already set up, so go back and do another coat. It's pretty well set up. Okay, looks good. Now, if you want to watch a professional ganache pour cake video, you can watch my chocolate cake with chocolate ganache frosting. I'll link that up there for you. It is a decadent cake and it is really good, but I have an updated chocolate cake recipe that I would suggest using instead of that cake recipe because I made an even lower carb chocolate cake that is delicious. Okay, now we just need peanut butter frosting. So I'm gonna try to do it evenly so that I can easily put the chocolate cups on top. So that's 8. What happens when you don't think before you pipe? We're gonna fill it all in anyways, so hopefully this won't matter too much. So we gotta do 2. Okay. Pretty good. It's delicious. I'm just gonna do a little pipe around the bottom and get it chilling for a little bit. Yeah, had just enough frosting. And then actually I allotted for a tablespoon of peanut butter to drizzle over the whole thing. Be back to do that and then we get to slice into it. Okay, I mixed 7 grams of butter, so 1/2 tablespoon of butter with a tablespoon of peanut butter, and I warmed it up in the microwave. I was just gonna drizzle it, but I'm gonna put it into a piping bag. Problem is our peanut butter could be a little bit chunky. Okay, there is our Cheesecake Factory knockoff Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Cheesecake. It looks pretty darn delicious. It's time to give this a slice. I'm kind of scared to actually slice into it. Gotta take some pictures first though. Okay, I got a hot knife, hot water. Hopefully this slices up okay. It's still soft because I didn't let it chill all the way. I even think the buttercream is set all the way. It's hard to do everything you need to get done in 8 hours. That is a thing of beauty. Looks so good. It's very soft in the middle, but that's because it's not chilled all the way for sure. It's a nice layer of chocolate on top. I looked up pictures of the Cheesecake Factory cheesecakes and it's ridiculous. It's like that high. So it's so soft. Yeah, it's delicious. Peanut butter and chocolate. My favorite. I'm gonna try some with the frosting back here. And this is definitely set because it's chilled all the way. So that's the texture you're gonna get all the way through if you let it set all the way. That's delicious. Yeah, with the peanut butter frosting. I think this was a good choice for my birthday cake. It's delicious. So happy to have more of this. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe video and you give this a try for yourself. If you love peanut butter and you love chocolate, this is a recipe for you. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite cheesecake is. I have a lot on my channel. I have an entire cheesecake playlist actually, so I'll link that up there for you and probably at the end card. Cheesecake is definitely one that there are endless possibilities with keto. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto, low carb, healthy desserts, meals, and snacks. Bye guys. Happy keto baking.